It begins quietly. You could be sitting in traffic or standing in the shower or maybe just staring out of a window when it hits. A strange heaviness in your chest. A subtle cracking like something inside of you is breaking, yet you can't see it. You try to ignore it, to carry on with your day, but something has already shifted. You can't explain it, but you know something is coming undone. You didn't ask for it. You didn't plan for it. But somehow the life you thought you built so perfectly starts to fall apart. The relationships, the career, the routines, they begin to feel foreign, like clothes that no longer fit. And this isn't just a bad week. This is the beginning of a sacred unraveling. What you are experiencing is not failure. It is the first breath of deep healing. But here's the paradox. Healing does not feel like light at first. It feels like loss. It feels like being torn from everything familiar. You might think something is going terribly wrong. You look at your life and wonder, why is everything falling apart just when I thought I was beginning to find peace? But that very question is the doorway. Because what's falling apart isn't your life, it's your illusion. You see, we build our lives around wounds we've never healed. We construct entire identities on top of pain we've never faced. We chase certain people, jobs, or dreams not because they are right, but because they are familiar. And when deep healing begins, it doesn't gently guide you away from those things, it rips them from your hands. Not to punish you, but to show you what you've been holding on to that was never truly yours to begin with. Have you ever felt like you were being dismantled from the inside out? Like your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs were being shaken loose? That is not madness. That is healing. True healing doesn't just soothe the surface. It reaches into the roots, the foundations. And if those foundations were built on fear, abandonment, shame, or false narratives, then healing will feel like destruction. Because it is. It's destroying everything that is not true. And this is where most people turn back. Because no one told us that healing would hurt. We were taught that healing means feeling better. That it means peace, relaxation, serenity. But real healing often begins with chaos. It brings up everything unhealed so it can be seen. It forces you to confront what you've ignored for years, maybe even lifetimes. And in that confrontation, it feels like your world is burning down. But let me ask you, can a seed grow into a tree without breaking open first? Can a caterpillar become a butterfly without dissolving into nothing inside the cocoon? Can a wound truly heal if it's always covered, never cleaned? We want the transformation, but we resist the process. And yet it is the process that sanctifies us. The fire doesn't burn you to ash, it burns away the ash, so the gold can emerge. When we begin to heal, the ego panics. It has spent its whole existence protecting you from pain. And now healing is asking you to feel that pain, to dive into it. The ego believes it's dying, and in many ways, it is. That version of you, the one who was built to survive, to perform, to pretend, is being dismantled. And that dismantling feels like death. But what dies is not the real you. What dies is who you thought you had to be loved. This is why so many people relapse into old habits during healing. Not because they are weak, but because the pain of shedding a false self is enormous. In the silence, the loneliness, the emptiness, we return to addictions, distractions, toxic relationships. Not because they serve us, but because they are familiar. Healing asks you to sit in the fire without running, to stay present when every part of you wants to escape, to breathe through the storm and trust that something sacred is being born.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
And here's the mystical truth. It's not just pain that arises during deep healing, it's memory. Not just childhood memories, but soul memories. Ancient grief. Wounds that stretch beyond this lifetime. You may feel things you can't explain. You may cry for reasons that make no sense to the mind. That's because the soul remembers what the mind has forgotten. Healing taps into that deeper timeline, and it clears not only your pain, but the pain of generations. Have you ever wondered why certain patterns keep repeating in your life? Why you attract similar relationships, similar disappointments, similar lessons? Healing feels like destruction because it is breaking the cycle. It's not just removing the symptom, it's pulling out the root. And when that root is deep, the removal shakes your entire foundation. But here's the beauty. Once that root is gone, the soil is finally ready for something new. In the midst of healing, you may feel lost. You may question your path, your purpose, your sanity, and that's okay. Losing your way is part of finding your truth. The map you were following was designed by a wounded self. Healing tears that map in half and asks you to draw a new one from the inside out. No shortcuts, no guarantees, just raw presence. And this is where the magic begins to reveal itself. As the old falls away, something unfamiliar emerges, a stillness, a clarity, a sense of self that is not built on pain but on presence. You begin to feel moments of peace, not because everything is fixed, but because you're no longer resisting what is. You stop trying to fix yourself and start learning how to be with yourself, and that shift changes everything. But even here, the ego whispers, "You're not healed yet. You should be further along. You should be better by now." Ignore that voice. Healing is not linear. It is not a race. It is not a checklist. It is a spiral. You may revisit the same wound 100 times, each time at a deeper level. That's not failure, that's evolution. Healing unfolds in layers, like petals of a sacred flower, each one revealing more of your essence. Real healing reveals the truth about love. Not romantic love, but divine love. The kind that doesn't need to be earned. The kind that doesn't abandon you when you're a mess. The kind that says, even now you are worthy. This love doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. And often it only shows up after everything else has been stripped away. That's why the deepest healing feels like destruction. It's clearing space for the love that never left. So let me ask you, what are you still holding on to that is asking to be released? What identity, what belief, what story is ready to be burned so that your soul can breathe again? Can you let it go, even if it breaks your heart? Can you trust that the breaking is not the end, but the beginning? In the middle of the night, when the tears won't stop, when the silence feels like a punishment, remember this: you are not being punished. You are being purified. You are not being erased. You are being rewritten. And the hand that writes your new story is not outside of you, it is your own soul, finally taking the pen from the ego's grip. There comes a moment in every healing journey where you must make a choice. Will I continue to perform, to pretend, to numb? Or will I sit in the fire and let it burn away everything that is not love? That decision cannot be made once. It must be made daily, sometimes hourly. Because the world will always tempt you back into forgetting. But healing is remembering. And remembering requires courage. You are here because you have that courage. You may not feel it, but it lives in you. It lived in you the moment you chose to wake up, to look inward, to feel what others run from. That choice alone makes you sacred. That choice alone means you are already healing. And that healing, no matter how it looks or feels, is taking you home. And now you begin to understand the destruction was never destruction. It was revelation. It was the shaking of the earth so the seed could finally break open. It was the collapse of the false so the truth could rise. It was the undoing of everything you are not, so everything you are could finally breathe. This is why the deepest healing feels like destruction. Because it is, and because it must be. Now that you've felt the fire, now that you've watched the architecture of your old self crumble around you, there's one truth that begins to rise through the smoke. This pain was never just a wound, it was a doorway, a sacred invitation back to your soul. You didn't lose yourself in the destruction. Quite the opposite. You were finally stripped of everything that never truly belonged to you, so that what was real could finally emerge. Healing doesn't give you a new self. It returns you to your original one. But that return is not a straight line. It's a spiral of death and rebirth. You revisit old wounds with new eyes. You grieve the same losses from deeper places. You may even question your progress, wondering why you still feel pain you thought you had already healed. But this is not regression. This is refinement. Each return to the wound is an opportunity to meet it with more love, more presence, more truth. And here's something you begin to notice. The pain doesn't necessarily go away, it transforms. It softens. It no longer controls you. You begin to relate to it differently. Instead of resisting it, you learn to listen to it. You begin to see that your pain has always been a messenger, not a curse. And when you really listen, you hear the message it's been trying to deliver all along. You are worthy of healing. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of being whole. This shift, this sacred reorientation is the quiet miracle of true healing. You stop fighting life and start flowing with it. You stop blaming yourself and start holding yourself. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this waking up in me? That single question changes everything. It turns suffering into alchemy. It turns despair into devotion. It turns your pain into your path. Now, something else begins to happen. You start to feel more. Not just your pain, but the pain of others. Your heart stretches. Your empathie depends. You cry at things you never used to notice. You feel connected to people you've never even met. This is not weakness. This is the expansion of your soul. Because as your own wounds heal, you become a safe place for others to begin their healing. You stop needing to fix the world, and instead you begin to hold it. That's the secret the world doesn't tell you. Your healing is never just about you. When you heal, you break generational cycles. You change the energy of every room you walk into. You bring softness to hard places, light to dark ones. You become a silent permission slip for others to feel, to release, to transform. This is why the path is so hard, because the reward is so sacred. You are not just healing your story. You are healing a lineage, a community, a collective consciousness. And yet, healing doesn't make life perfect. It doesn't exempt you from future pain. But it changes how you meet it. You stop asking for life to be easy and start asking for the strength to meet it with grace. You understand that resistance is suffering and presence is peace. And so you show up not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who is no longer afraid of the questions. Let me ask you something deep. What if everything you've ever called broken inside you was actually sacred in disguise? What if your sadness was a portal, your anger a boundary, your fear a compass? What if healing isn't about becoming someone new, but finally letting yourself be who you've always been beneath the conditioning, the trauma, the expectation? Can you be brave enough to meet yourself there? Eventually, you begin to see beauty in the destruction. You look back at the version of yourself who first entered the fire, and you feel love, not shame. You see their courage, their innocence, their resilience. You stop judging your past selves and start honoring them. You realize that every breakdown, every heartbreak, every loss was not a detour but a sacred step on the path home. And then comes the moment you never expected. Gratitude. Gratitude for the pain. Gratitude for the unraveling. Gratitude for the nights you thought you wouldn't survive, because now you're not just surviving. You're alive in a way you never were before. You're not numb. You're not pretending. You're not striving to be someone else. You're simply here, fully present, fully real. And that presence is the greatest miracle of all. You begin to walk differently, not to impress, but to express, not to perform, but to embody. Your energy speaks before your words do. People start noticing, but they can't explain what's changed. They just feel something around you, something calm, something grounded, something real. That something is you, the real you, the one who was buried beneath years of shoulds and shame and survival, the one who has now emerged from the fire, not unscarred but unafraid. And yet, even here, the work doesn't end, because the world will still try to pull you back into slumber. It will tempt you with old patterns, old roles, old illusions. But now, you have a choice. You can see the pattern before it begins. You can feel the pull and still choose truth. You can notice the wound, and instead of reacting, you can respond with presence. That is the power of healing. It gives you back your choice. You stop looking for validation. You stop chasing peace. You start becoming peace. You learn to rest in the unknown, to trust the timing, to honor the pauses. You realize that life isn't a series of goals to conquer, it's a sacred unfolding to be witnessed. You are no longer trying to dominate life. You are dancing with it. And in that dance, you discover a rhythm that has always been calling you home. And now the question becomes, what will you do with this healing? Will you protect it? Will you share it? Will you let it shape the way you love, the way you lead, the way you live? Because healing is not something you achieve. It's something you live from. It's the soil from which everything else in your life will now grow. And that soil is sacred because it was watered by your tears. There is one more truth, and it is this: the destruction was not a punishment. It was a sacred initiation. The fire didn't come to end you. It came to awaken you, to show you what you're made of, to reveal the gold hidden beneath the rubble. And now you carry that gold not as something to show off, but as something to give away. You become the sacred reminder in your family, in your circle, in your community. You become the one who holds space, the one who doesn't look away, the one who sees the pain beneath the mask and meets it with gentle eyes. You don't have to preach. You don't have to fix. You only have to be. Your presence is the sermon. Your wholeness is the medicine. So if you are in the fire right now, if your life feels like it's collapsing, if your heart is breaking, if your mind is spinning, take a deep breath. You are not being destroyed. You are being revealed. The pain is not the end of your story. It's the threshold, the beginning of a life built on truth, not trauma, on presence, not performance, on love, not fear. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are healing. And healing, real healing, often looks like everything falling apart until it doesn't. Until one day you realize that the collapse was the construction, that the mess was the message, that the loss was the liberation, and that everything you thought was being taken from you was actually being returned to you in a purer, truer form. So here you are, not at the end, but at the beginning of something holy. A life lived not from pain, but from power. Not from survival, but from soul. Not from fear, but from love. And if you ever forget, just come back to this moment. Come back to the breath. Come back to the knowing that you survived what you thought would end you. That you burned, but you did not disappear. That you are still here. And being here, fully and truly, is the most sacred thing you can ever be.